job evaluation. So in this session, what we are going to learn is we're going to learn about job evaluation, okay, and two methods in detail where you will be actually doing work, that is in job grading and point rating. Okay, so essentially everybody said yes, job evaluation we do because we want to know, we want to know the importance, etc. So typically when we say job evaluation and we related it, we linked it up to paying of jobs. Essentially, if I know the worth of a job, key understanding, if I know what is the worth of this job, I'm able to pay the job in a fair and equitable manner. Got it? So what is actually job evaluation? When we are talking about job evaluation, it says it's actually a process of determining, systematically determining the relative worth of the jobs. If you were to think of all your jobs, you can just think about the number of jobs in your organization. If you are able to put them in a kind of a hierarchy, that means, saying that, hey, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 being the highest and the last job being the lowest. So if you are able to put in a hierarchy, then you know that you can pay higher the rank, higher the pay, lower the rank, lower the pay. Okay, so job evaluation is actually a systematic process of determining the relative worth of the jobs. And what do you do essentially? That means you are just stacking them in a matter of importance. Somebody said yes, or the worth, or of what? Relative worth. Now, having said that, I want you to understand very, very clearly what is the difference between job evaluation and job analysis. Fundamentally, as HR people, we should understand what is the difference between job evaluation and job analysis. Any one or two people who can just give me a quick, what is the difference between job evaluation, or what is the understanding you have of job analysis? Are they same? What is job analysis?
It describes a job.
No, they're not same. Yeah.
They're not the same. Okay. So at least that understanding is there that they're not the same. Then what is job analysis? And what is it different from job? How is it different from job evaluation?
Job analysis is usually done for the review purpose, whether it is a performance, whether it is a reward.
Okay. So here is it. So it's very, very important as a HR person who's actually wanting to understand job evaluation. I need to understand that job analysis is the systematic process of analyzing the job. It could be through questionnaire method, it could be through logging method, it could be through interview method, but it's a systematic process of analyzing the job for the purpose of what? Documenting the job description. So the output or the outcome of job analysis is job description. So when we do job evaluation, what happens? We actually start with job description. We need a current document of what does this job do? That is job description. Okay. So just to recap, job evaluation is a systematic process of determining the relative worth of jobs in an organization, and this is strictly of the job and not of a person. So when we are doing job evaluation, we are not evaluating people who are doing, we are evaluating the jobs, right? So as I said, it starts off with job description, and the document we use for job evaluation is the job description. Now, just to give you an overview of how do we do job evaluation, what do? We evaluate the job through this job document, which is job description. And then we use a method of job evaluation, that is, it could be a ranking method or point rating method or a job grading method. And then we use market data in order to predict, in order to design our base salaries. So it might be a little complex at this point of time, but I will actually make it much more simplified. Okay, so let us start with, so job evaluation starts with job description. Now, I'm sure all of you know what is a job description. It gives you role and responsibilities of the jobs. Now, to give you a quick, how do we actually, say, for example, in your organization, and you are given this job of doing, 500 job descriptions or 100 job descriptions. It's not easy. It takes a long time. A very quick method of doing job descriptions is you can use a ONET method. I don't know how many of you are, very familiar with the ONET method. So what you do, in order to do a job description, you can quickly go to ONET. Some of you are familiar with it. Okay. So rather than actually going and doing it, starting from questionnaire method or an interview method, you can actually use ONET, which is a website which gives you, say, about 2,500 to 3,000 job descriptions. Quickly, what you do, put your, say, for example, put your keyword search. So here I'm putting, say, compensation.
It's right hand side corner. Top.
Yeah, pardon?
Right hand side top corner. Right hand side.
Yeah. I can do it here. Occupation key search I can do. Yeah. Compensation manager. Okay. All right. So it gives you a quick, you want a summary. So it gives you a quick summary of all the tasks. You can see design, evaluate, modify, benefit policies to ensure that program. So it gives you the kind of technologies used, all the work activities, all the detailed work activities, etc. Now, if you also want a detailed job description, you can also get a detailed job description. You can see that. Yeah. So you can also get a detailed job description, the list of tasks written here, design, evaluate, modify, benefit policies to ensure that programs are current, complete. So you can see a list of all this. Now, what is the advantage of using this ONET job description? You can actually get a job description of any skill set, any job from this ONET. And now once you have this, you can actually then use Google Forms. What typically I do is I use Google Forms. Where is it? And send it out to all the key stakeholders and say add or delete whatever you think is relevant. And then going by the consensus, there might be 5% or 10%, conflict between, hey, some people must have recommended something, some stakeholders must have said. So if there is any conflict, then we call up and then iterate it. So in this way, by using a job description from the ONET, you can actually finish in a very short time, in a very quick time, as many job descriptions as possible. Okay, so one is you can use this when you go back if you have to do job descriptions. So that's the first document which you need to use. So when we talk about the sorry. Yeah. So when we talk about job evaluation, let us look at the most common methods, ranking method. Now, the ranking is the most simple method wherein you are using a list of jobs, which is called pair ranking. Say, for example, these are the list of jobs. So there are about 10 jobs: messenger, data processing manager, data entry operator, executive secretary, systems analyst, etc. So when you're doing a ranking method, and this ranking method is mostly done by startups, and it's not a very scientific method, it's a little subjective, but very easy. very cost effective, and it can be done for organizations which are typically having 10 to 15 jobs. Now, what you do in this method, that you list down all the positions, and then both vertically and horizontally. And if you have seen, then you are pairing them in the sense that you are evaluating each and every job with the rest of the jobs in the organization. Like, for example, we'll take a job like a data entry operator. Now, obviously, you are saying, hey, this data entry operator is a higher job. Now, who is evaluating? A compensation committee. And who is comprising of this committee? All the BU heads and the HR head, and also sometimes in a startup you also have the CEO. So the compensation committee, what do? They take the list of these jobs and then they compare them with the rest of the jobs. And how do they compare? They start putting a cross mark for the jobs which is higher. Like, for example, we'll just take this job, data entry operator higher than messenger, a cross mark. Then again, if you see the rest of the jobs, it is lower, so nothing. Again, data entry operator is higher than a file clerk, so a cross mark. So likewise, you start doing this for all the jobs. So this is called a paid comparison method of ranking. And like, for example, assistant director, the compensation committee is evaluating it. Assistant director, is it higher than messenger? Yes. Then is it higher than data processing manager? No. So there is nothing here. Is it higher than data entry operator? Yes. So is it higher than executive secretary? Yes. So then at the end of it, you are actually then collating all the this cross marks and you are putting them as ranks. Now you can see that all these cross marks have been totaled and there is a rank here. That is, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So higher the number, higher is the job. So if you see here, which is the highest job here? If you can see the ranking, anybody?
Processing manager.
Pardon?
Processing manager.
Processing manager.
Data processing manager.
Yeah.
So when they have compared the job with their value to the rest of the jobs, the cross marks are 9. So 9 is the highest number. So 9 is the highest job. And which is the lowest job?
Messenger.
File clerk assistant.
File
Right?
clerk
So
assistant. Yeah.
you have file clerk assistant who is, okay. Yeah. So the file clerk assistant is the lowest job. So it is 1. Now,
Is it messenger or file clerk assistant?
no. So I have actually, messenger is, we have said, okay, fine, in this list of jobs, messenger is the lowest. We will not take him into consideration. So we could start from here. Okay.
Understood.
Yeah. Say, for example, now, if this organization has these jobs and you have ranked them. So what have you got? You have got the internal hierarchy. That means you know that which is the highest job and which is the lowest job. So if you have to pay these jobs, how are you going to pay? So obviously you're going to pay 9. The data processing manager will be the highest paid job and the file clerk assistant will be the lowest paid job. But now how are you going to pay? How are you going to pay? Any clue, guys?
Higher the rank, higher the pay, lower the rank.
Yeah, but
lower the
how
pay.
will you pay and what is that you will do to pay?
Then it must be we have
Based on the market standards,
pay
based on-
ranges.
Yeah. So what will you
Compared
do
to
now?
market survey,
Pardon?
compared to market survey also?
Absolutely. So what we say, we will do something called cluster analysis. Okay. Now, if you actually see here, you have, can you see something like a file clerk, right? As rated 1. And then what is that next? Can you see as data entry operator as 2? And can you see 3 is what? Control clerk, right? As 3. And what is the 4th? Computer operator, 4. So can we cluster these jobs 1, 2, 3, 4 under one category? So typically what do we do? I'll just use a blackboard. Okay. So we typically do something called, what we call it as CLUS, cluster analysis. Okay. So we start with file clerk. See, he had a rating of 1, right? Then next what we had, data entry operator. Okay. Then he was given 2. Then what did we have? Then we had computer or control clerk. I think it was 3. And then we have something like computer operator. Okay, 4. So we know that as per a job evaluation, now these are the rankings, with file clerk being the lowest and computer operator being the highest. But they could be clustered under one category. Now what do? We take market data of a similar organization. Say for example, I've taken a market data of a similar organization and I have got something like, with the minimum salary of say 20,000 and maximum of 50,000. Okay, so this will be my min and this will be my max. Okay, what is this? This is market data. Now what will I do? I will say, okay, fine, computer operator being my highest job in this category, I may like to place him here, say for example at say 45,000, and file clerk being the lowest, I may place him here at, say, maybe I'll give him 25,000. Okay, and the rest likewise I would. So what would I do? I would actually then design a pay salary taking market data of a similar organization and ensure that depending on the importance of my jobs, and I will position the salaries across that band. Is that clear, guys? Any questions here? Any questions here? Any questions? Please give me a thumbs up if you have understood. Yeah. Okay. So you are first of all, what are you doing? You're ranking them. You're putting them into a stacking process, that is in internal hierarchy. You get what is your highest job of importance and lowest job of importance. Then after that, you're going to categorize or cluster similar kind of a jobs. Like for example, all these 4 jobs are similar in nature, but the importance is low and high. So then you take market data and then you design or fix a grading structure with salaries. Okay, so this is the most simple method, very subjective and but yet useful for startups. Now typically if there are any startup participants who are actually working in startups, I will give you a suggestion. What you need to do is quickly you do this method of ranking, then get market data and see and rank them in terms of how are you actually paying right now. So if there's a huge variance, you need to quickly go back to your drawing board and check why are you actually paying a higher salary, or why are you actually paying a lower salary vis-a-vis your market? Okay. Yeah. Now let us actually go to the most important method of, which is a most universal method, which is called the grading method. This is a very, very important universal method, mostly used in manufacturing organizations. Now, when we talk about job grading process, what does it mean? That means if your organization is having, say, 20 jobs, 30 jobs, 40 jobs, all these jobs are then put under clustered or classified in different grades. How do you go about? You need to, you're going to do an exercise. I want to ensure that you actually learn this process. So I want you all to really pay attention to this. Step 1, you are identifying in this process compensable factors. The step 1 is identifying compensable factors. So let me actually take you to a worked out example so that you are able to understand. And okay, are you able to see this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Is visible.
Visible?
Yeah.
So step 1, identify compensable factors. So what are compensable factors? Factors for which I pay. For example, why do you pay a CFO a higher salary and a financial executive low salary? Anybody?
Combination of skill, experience, and his
So,
knowledge.
so
Experience.
something that is,
Similarly,
what is a compensable
that-
factor? A factor for which the organization pays. For example, decision making. The kind of decisions the CFO has to take are of a higher magnitude. The impact is very, very high. It could have budgetary consideration, etc. But the kind of decision a financial executive at a lower level is of very low level, of a very lesser magnitude. So compensable factors are those factors for which you are paying. Now, how do you actually determine compensable factors? Typically, compensable factors are derived from the organization's value, culture, their strategy, etc. Now, if say, for example, you identify a compensable factor which does not vary across the organization in the jobs, then does it still remain as a compensable factor? So a compensable factor has to vary in terms of its intensity when you are defining it as a compensable factor. For example, education. So education in your organization will have various levels of education. Higher the job, you might need higher education, higher certifications, etc. So typically, when we talk about compensable factors, education is one compensable factor, experience is a compensable factor, span of control is a compensable factor, creativity, innovation is compensable factor. Any more? Can you tell me some of the compensable factors, guys?
Innovativeness.
Pardon?
Area of impact.
Innovativeness.
Yeah, yes. So can you tell me what are the other compensable factors typically? So we talked about qualification, it could be product knowledge, it could be experience, it could be span of control, it could be business output, supervisory level, in the sense that how many people are you supervising? Then it could be knowledge level, skill, creativity, budgetary control, number of people reporting. So these are various compensable factors. So what is the first step in grading? That is, you need to identify compensable factors. Now here in this example, so that you understand, I have identified 4 compensable factors: education, experience, span of control, and creativity. The second step is typically in job grading, you determine how many grades you want. For example, I have determined 5 grades. Grade 1 being the lowest and grade 5 being the highest. So I've said, hey, depending on my 50 jobs, I'm going to determine 5 grades. So grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. Grade 1 is the lowest and grade 5 is the highest. Now, the third step, what do you need to do? Now, in order to classify your jobs, I need to write descriptors, or how do I define education for every grade. Okay, so you need to write descriptors. These are called descriptors. Like, for example, I have written for education in grade 1, I said ITI, etc. Grade 2, engineering. Grade 3, engineering with certifications. Grade 4, a postgraduate with engineering. Grade 5, an engineering with MBA. Now you may ask, hey, how am I going to write? Depending on your organization, depending on the kind of jobs you are actually wanting to grade, you will actually then decide what are those educations which are required, and then I will write for every grade descriptor. Like, for example, experience, I've written 0 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 10. Span of control, so at a low level, he's just an individual contributor, but as he keeps going up, then he has to manage people. So I've written 20 to 30, 30 plus. And creativity, maybe based on this organization, at a grade 1 level, he does not need much creativity. And here he needs a low, medium, a high, a medium, high, etc. Now, step 4, what do you need to do? Step 4, then you are going to evaluate all the jobs which you have and the jobs which have to be evaluated. What does that mean? That means you are going to look at those standard job descriptions and evaluate them and see where do they fit, where do the descriptors, or where do those descriptors in terms of education, experience, span of control fit. Do they fit in grade 1? Do they fit in grade 2? Or do they fit in grade 3, grade 4, grade 5? So you are evaluating and then mapping them into respective grades. Now here is it, guys, you're going to be actually split into 3 groups, because when you actually do this exercise, you will actually get a hands-on learning on it, and I would be there to help you all, so you don't have to worry. Now I will also show you a finished example of how does a job grading look like and what is that you really need to do. Now Wilma has actually mailed 20 positions of a particular manufacturing organization. Okay, what you need to do is you have to look at only 10 positions, but take 10 positions from different if you actually look at that downloaded, I hope all of you have that. So there are positions, 20 positions in quality, projects, and what else? HR, finance. So take any 10 positions and do job grading. And what you need to do is then map them into their respective grades. It should look okay. So you have 20 positions, but you can do only 10 positions. What you need to do, first of all, determine only 4 grades. Because of the paucity of time, you need to do just 4 grades. Identify 4 compensable factors, determine 4 grades, write the descriptors, and then you need to map them like this into which grade you are mapping them or classifying them. Okay, like for example, if you see the compensable factors here are what? Experience, complexity, creativity. So these are the descriptors for that. And here, of course, there are 5 grades. So you need to write descriptors and thereafter read the job description and classify 10 position into the respective grades. You need to do it in an Excel form so that it's very clear and you are able to actually learn job grading. Okay, so Vilma, can I request you to break them into the breakout? You will have 45 minutes, guys. You'll have only 45 minutes to do. Okay, all right. Okay, can we have breakout room 1 present there?
Dhanushri.
Yes, I'm sharing the screen.
Yeah.
This is how we have prepared the table wherein we have mapped 4 compatible factors, compensable factors, the qualification, experience, span of control, and complexity. We have made 4 grades based on this compensable factors and grading. We have mapped these 11 jobs in different grades. Like in grade 2, we have mapped the executive, HR executive, quality analyst, and the project engineer. Whatever the JD we had, based on the understanding and this mapping, we did this job mapping.
Okay, so you have said grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 1 being the lowest, grade 4 being the highest. Okay, now you have identified compensable factors, step 1. Then you have determined the number of grades, step 2. Then you have written descriptors for all those compensable factors. Now you have taken 10 positions. Now, based on the job description of every position, you have evaluated vis-a-vis vis-a-vis the descriptors of these compensable factors, and wherever they are fitted, you have said, okay, now these positions are under grade 2, these in grade 3, and these in grade 4. Is that so?
Yes.
Clear?
Okay. Done the exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Can we have the next group also do the presentation, please?
All right. I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah. Who is presenting it?
Myself, Farmer.
Yeah.
So we've taken 4 grades.
Hmm.
The earlier group 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have taken 4 compensable factors: experience, qualification, functional knowledge, and decision making.
Wonderful. Okay.
And for each, for each level and for each grade, we determine the factors.
Okay.
And then we have taken 10 positions across the 5 different families, and then we provide the grades.
Okay. Okay. So when you write the descriptors, typically, what does it mean? That, you know, the requirement for a job, say, for example, here, it must be absolutely not much or nil, absolutely operational, tactical, strategic. Okay. Right. So based on that, then you have evaluated the jobs, 10 positions, and then map them into their respective grades, depending on the descriptors of the compensable factors. Got it?
Yeah.
So what you have done is, when you are doing job evaluation through job grading, you have taken into consideration step 1, step 2, step 3, which is identifying compensable factors, then determining the number of grades you want depending on the size or the complexity of your organization, and then 3, writing the descriptors, 4, evaluating every job, and then classifying or mapping them into their respective grades. So what have you got at the end? Now you have got these jobs which are into these grades. Okay, so you know that in grade 1, these are the jobs, grade 2, these are the jobs, grade 3. Now next, typically then what do you do? What is the next step? Yeah, can you just bring down the,
Yeah, hang on.
okay, So this is a very critical point, guys. So I hope all of you are there, and I want you to pay attention to this. So all of you have understood how to map or how to classify and evaluate the jobs and put them into their respective grades. This is what we have done. Next, now we have to actually then create what, how do we then assign salaries? So what do you do now is called again the cluster analysis.
Salary.
Cluster analysis. How are we going to do that? Okay. Now, typically it is called cluster analysis. So, say for example, this is the worked out another organization. Typically, you have done this. Haven't you done this? You have taken a list of positions, right? Then you have mapped them into their respective grades. But how do I assign salary? So what is that I need to do? I have to get market salary. Okay. Have you got it? So I have to get market salary. You may ask me, ma'am, from where did you get? Yes, market salary. In the next session, we'll be talking about how to gather or how to collect and how to get market data. But as of now, market salary in the sense data of comparative or peer organizations. All right. Okay. Now, if you see, these are 8 positions. I have actually mapped them, done job evaluation, put them into various grades. So here you will see typically I've taken, okay, 1, 2, 3 grades. This is the market salary. Now, how do I fix the salaries and how do I create grades? So typically what will I do? One is I will select this, okay? And I will go to insert and then go to a scatter chart. I'm sure all of you do that. All right. This is simple. Okay. Now I will create a trend line. How will I create a trend line? I will click on any of these job points and then right click, add a trend line. All right. Now, when you add a trend line, you get a format trend line. So go to linear trend line and you have got it. Okay. Yeah. Oh. All right. So can you see a trend line, guys?
Yes.
No, how does it, what does it do, a trend line? It helps you to understand where are your job points. Okay. Now you can see that even when you look at your own table, when you do a trend line, that there are now 3 jobs typically in grade 1. There are about 3 jobs in grade 2, and there are about 2 jobs in grade 3. Okay. Now I have to create what? A pay band or a pay grade. How do I do that? So typically what will I do? I will take the job with the lowest market data. So it is typically what, if I were to say 18,000. So I put as 18,000. Let me just pull this. Okay. And the job with the highest. So this is your, when you do a graph, this is your market data and these are your grades with jobs. Now, in grade 1, which is what is the market data for the highest job? Anybody? If you can see this graph clearly, can you see that?
It's 20,000.
20,000. So when I have to fix a pay grade or a pay band, what I will say, grade 1 will have a min of 18,000 and a max of 20,000. Now, likewise, for grade 2, what will I fix? You can see here something like, a 20,000, right? And 30,000. And for grade 3, you have something like 50,000 to, you can have 70,000. Okay. Now you may ask, ma'am, Now 18,000 to 20,000. Now, how do you then fix? How do you then have the width or the spread of a grade? Say min is 18,000 and max is 20,000. So what is the difference between 18,000 and 20,000? Only
2,000.
2,000. Now, once I have done the scatter graph, I need to also do mechanically. Now, what is it? Typically, what I need to do is, I will actually just use a board. Okay. How do you fix grades? So I have 18,000 and right in my grade 1. Okay. Now, what is the difference between that is only 2,000. Now I need to look at here. What is the number or tenuity in terms of shifting from grade 1 to grade 2? Okay. Say from grade 1 to grade 2 for an average performer, it takes about, for example, it takes about, say, I will say 3 years.
Yes.
Okay. And on an average, I give an increment of 2,000. Got it? On an average, I said, I give an increment of 2,000. So let me just draw a line. This is a little important. Okay. Say, for example, and so 1, 2, okay, 3, and then he is promoted to grade 2. Now, if I need to have him for 3 years on an average, then how many increments will he get? 3 increments, which will total to
6,000.
6,000 rupees. Okay. Now, does my grade structure take into consideration that? So what do I need to do? I need to then extrapolate, or I need to then extend my grade from 18,000 to how much?
24,000.
24,000. Got it?
24,000, yeah.
Yeah, got it. Now let me just stop sharing and I'll just go back to this again. Where is that? We were here, right? Okay. Okay, this is clear. So that means I have extended it to 24,000, right? But your other grade 2 can start from 20,000. It doesn't mean that it has to start again from 24,000. It can have an overlap. Now, again, from 20,000 to 30,000, likewise, you need to look at internally based on a promotion policy. Is it giving you that, on an average, the number of years and the increment? Now you will see that 30,000 to suddenly it comes to 50,000. Again, you need to, because today you have no positions, but maybe tomorrow you will have positions. So you need to create a pay band structure. So what will you do now? Here, you can have what? Another sub band from, say, 30,000 to what? 50,000. Are you with me, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Huh? But you may say, ma'am, but there are no positions today. Like, for example, I asked you only 10 positions to do, and you may have got market data wherein they'll be straight and you will get, different grades. But then when you do all your positions, you may have to factor in. So you have to remember that you're not creating for the present jobs which are there. You are creating for a grading structure, right? So therefore, when you are doing this, when you are actually fixing a pay band or a pay grade, what you need to do? select data, get the market data, insert, do a scatter graph, and then create your min and max. So once you actually learn the market data, then I will tell you, hey, do you want to lead, lag? Then how do you increase it by 10%, 15%? I'm not wanting to make things complex here, but I want to make them very simple. So once you create, you have done your job evaluation, map them into grades. Then how do you then fix pay grades? You get your market data, then do your scatter graph, and then what you do, then that will give you an indication of how do you have to create your grades with min and max. Now, once you have done your pay grades, you can also fix all your benefits, reimbursements, etc., based on the pay grades. Any
Two
questions
madam.
here?
Number one is
One second.
yeah.
One. Yeah, tell me.
Now, in terms of assuming the market salary, we have considered, but the budget of the organization, they are not willing to this. So they will be lagging behind the market, right?
So you now asked me, ma'am, it's all good. This is the market data I have got, and I have fixed my grades. Now you have put in something like budget, okay? My affordability, or in terms of, what is that employee cost to revenue I want. Do I want to keep it at 8%, or I want to keep it at 10%? Obviously, again, you'll benchmark it with your peer companies, all right? And you want to keep it low or high, depending on your affordability. All right. So
Right.
that is the time then when you look at it and say, hey, now if this is what is market salary, then I am going to pay 10% less than the market or 15% less than the market. Then when you structure, when you fix your pay grades, it will be 10% or 20% or 15% lesser than the market.
Correct.
Are you with me?
Yes, we'll be
Okay.
more inclined towards the organizational budget then in that case.
Then you will consider your compensation philosophy, whether you want to lead or lag or on par, or maybe you are having a kind of a hybrid model where for critical positions you want to pay more. For support functions where there is, like in the first session, we talked about talent supply is very high, like an HR and finance, which is not very critical for me, then I will pay less. Okay. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. But this is very clear, guys.
Yeah, one
How
more.
do you fix salaries, or how do you fix pay grades, from job grading? Because just doing job grading is not enough. You need to also fix pay grades.
Yeah, I have a small doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're talking about min and max, for example, if you look at the grade 1, that's row number 16, we have fixed as 18,000, 20,000. The width we thought it's pretty low. So we increased to 18,000 to 24,000, right? Now,
and 1 second. So the 24,000 we extrapolated based on what we need to do, a mechanical iteration. Once we get this data and we have done this, then I'll again look at internally my promotion policy. What is the tenuity on an average, the stay period, typically from one grade to another, and then I will extend the grade.
Yeah, understood. That logic is clear. So for example, when I'm deciding a pay grade, increment for each level, let's say level 1, the minimum might be 5%, maximum might be 20%. So which one should I consider for the bandwidth?
No. Now you are mixing up increment and grades. Grades are fixed once. Again, after 3-4 years, again you do, market pricing, and then you want to again extend the grade. So don't mix up increment now. Okay. Okay. But
Okay.
I will take up that as well. But I don't want you to confuse with that right now.
No,
okay?
I understand. No, that part's clear. So how do you determine what is the difference between these two, min and max? That's all I want to understand.
What is the difference between, again?
How do you determine the difference between this min and max? The bandwidth between these two, the min and max.
Typically the bandwidth, that is 80, the width or the spread of a grade is dependent on, typically it is, there is one generic rule, that is at a low level, you will have say about 15 to 20% will be your difference at a low level. That means when I said entry level, etc. You may ask me why just the difference should be 10 to 15%. Typically, because at a low level, it's only a question of your skills. So typically, people get promoted in 1 to 2 years or at best 3 years, right?
Okay.
So the width at a lower levels is 15 to 20%. L, lower levels. At a middle level, it is at least say 25 to 35%. Why? Because it takes a longer period, 3 to 5 years or a little more, because that's the time assistant manager or deputy manager, manager, senior manager, okay, middle level. At top level, the width, that is the min and max at top level, is almost 50 to 60%.
Okay. Okay.
Because why? The tenuity is longer. So that is the standard. That is a typical standard. 10 to 15%, 30 to 35%, I mean 25 to 35%, and 50 to and more, 60%.
Okay.
That is lower, middle, and top.
And top. So for, I mean, just from understanding, so for senior, let's say if the minimum is 100, then the maximum would be 160 or 200. Is that the logic?
The grade, I'm not talking about individual salary, I'm talking about the
grade. Yeah, I got
the
it.
pay grade.
Hmm.
The width of the grade will be very, very, I mean, it will be 50% or 60%.
Yeah. So
what does that mean actually? Min, max
100.
minus min by 100.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood.
I mean, if you want to find out the percentage, right?
Understood. Understood. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to add in more things, because what happens is you will get confused. So I'm going level 1, level 2, level 3, step by step. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the right moment I'll put in more input, but at this point of time we said for job grading, first do the job grading method of classifying them into their respective grades, but that's not end of the story. Then you have to fix pay grades, so you have to take market data and then fix grades. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to another very interesting can you see this, or should I? I will make you do this a little. Okay. Can you see this, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So we've done in job evaluation ranking, we have done point grading method. Now grading method is a whole job method. What did you do? You took the entire job description of the job position, and you evaluated it, and you could either put it in grade 1 or grade 2. It's a qualitative method, right? It's a qualitative method. Now we are getting into another method which is very objective. What is it called? Quantifiable. Point method. Have you heard of, has anybody heard of this point method?
Yes.
So it's called point plan method. Okay. How do you go about doing this point plan method? A, what is very common here? Identifying compensable factors. That's a common thing. Step 1. In point plan, what are we doing? Step 1, identifying compensable factors. And what factors have I identified, so that I know people are awake? What factors have I identified? Quick.
Education,
work experience, knowledge, leadership, and supervisory.
Great. Okay, so these are the 5 compensable factors, because I feel that these are the 5 compensable factors across all the job. It exists and they also vary, and it is demonstrated. Got it?
Okay.
Now, step 2. I will then now divide them into, depending on my complexity of this organization, I will say, hey, I may need 4 degrees or 5 degrees. So in a point plan, preferably you can have at best 5 to 6 degrees also. Do not have higher degrees, but you can have many compensable factors. But in job grading, you should not have more than 4 or 5 compensable factors, because what happens then, it becomes really very, very difficult to classify, because you must have felt, hey, this will go in grade 1 or grade 2, but I think it will also go in grade 2. It will also, so typically, you have a tie. So then you will look at, okay, 80-20, so which is of a higher than you. So here in point plan, you can have any number of compensable factors like 7, 10, but your degrees of differentiation could be max 5 to 6. Now, if you see what is, you may say, hey, ma'am, but what is this? Is this degree of differentiation same as grade? No, they are not same as grade. In point plan, what is degree of differentiation? That means it is the degree at the differentiation of this compensable factor which is required across different jobs. Like for example, education, the lower degree for lower jobs or higher degree for higher jobs. Please, did you get that understanding very clear? Or
Yes.
it is the intensity. I'm using that word because this is very important. Intensity of your compensable factor present in various jobs. Okay, got it? That is called degree of differentiation. And this is the word which is a technical word. Typically, if you read compensation books, you will have degree of differentiation. So how many degrees I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, that is step 2. Now, the step 3, I need to give weightage. Not all the compensable factors are of equal importance, right? Maybe in my organization, maybe because it's a startup, I need more work right? Plug and play kinds. Maybe in my experience build and buy and build kind of a philosophy, I will need, at an entry level, so I'll give education more importance. So depending on all that, you have to give weightage. When I say weightage, what does it mean? Even if you have 10 compensable factors, weightage will be 100. Okay, and even if you have 5 compensable factors, weightage. So weightage means when you give, that means how much of weight or priority you want to give. So they should equal to 100. Correct? Very clear. Just give me a thumbs up, guys.
Yes.
So if you notice, these are the 4 compensable factors, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 degrees, and then weightage I have given 20, 20, 25, 35. Okay. In point plan, then I have to write descriptors, right? Without descriptors, numbers are meaningless. So I have to write a descriptor for every compensable factor at degree 1, what it is, degree 2, what it is, degree 3, what it is. So these are the descriptors. But ensure that there is no overlap of a descriptor between degree 1 and degree 2. Got it?
Yep.
No overlap, because you are assigning points to every degree. No overlap. Now, step 4, what are we going to do? We are then going to since we are going to do linear regression, we are going to populate the points. How will you do a population of points? Simple. 20 multiplied by 1, 20. 20 multiplied by 2, 40. So you are multiplying your weightage with this degree, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, correct? Again, so when it comes to 35, it is 35, 70, 105, 140. Got it?
Yeah.
So you know how it is. And when you actually then add up, this should be 100, 200, 300, 400. So this is a 400 point plan. Now, depending on your complexity of your organization, you can have a 1000 point plan, or you can also have a 1500 point plan. Got it?
Yeah.
Now, I will also tell you how do you assign. So based on the importance, how do you, so one way is simple as this. Or for example, my weightage for education is 20. That means 20% total points is 400. 20% of my points, okay, have been assigned for education. Okay, 20% of 400 is assigned for work X, for knowledge, and for leadership. Now, by and large, but it may be that you don't want to have all 4 degrees for a particular compensable factor. So you could also have just 2 degrees or 3 degrees. And in that case, how do you actually then quantify? I will let you know in a later time. First, let us do this first, easy to understand. That is linear way. And what we are going to do is the linear regression. Okay. So have you got all your points? This is very clear?
Yes.
Now what will you do? Because you have to do this exercise and I'm giving you a shortcut. So one second. So now what will you do? Take every job, like just as the way you have taken 10 jobs, we will take a job and then I will say, hey, this job, say for example, I have a job description with the HR team leader or whatever. Then I'll say, all right, so this education, it requires a graduate degree. How many points will I give then?
40.
40 points. Okay. Then as per that job description of maybe, then I will say, hey, and it requires 2 to 4 years of what experience. Then how many points will I give?
Again, 40.
40. And this job needs to just understand processes, etc. 50.
50.
Then and leadership and supervisory, just performing day to day. How many points
35.
will I give? 35.
35.
So the total point value will be 40 plus 40 plus 50 plus 35. So here it does not mean that I actually take everything in this vertical all in a row. I can take 20 from here, I can take 40 from here, and then I can take 50 from here. I can take 105 from here, depending on the requirement of that compensable factor as per the job. Very clear?
Yeah.
So that means I'm assigning the degree of, that is the intensity of the compensable factor required as per the job. So it gives me that flexibility and also objectivity. Got it?
Yeah.
So when so once I do that, what am I doing then? I'm actually then calculating all the points across all the 4 compensable factors based on the requirement, and I'm adding up and then saying, hey, the point value for HR team lead is 230 points, or point value for technical manager is 370, or point value for an HR manager is 350. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once we have done that, this first step is over. If you want, you can take a snapshot of this, because once you do, okay, then what are we going to do? The process, I have the point values for all the positions. I have to get market data, right?
Okay.
So this is the market data. Now here in point value, what are we doing? We are going to do regression. We are going to use a statistical tool, regression. I'm sure most of you know. So when we are doing regression, we will calculate 2 values. What are they? Slope value, and intercept value. Now you may ask me quickly, I will tell you what is the slope value and intercept value, but maybe at little later I will tell you. But right now, just understand, when you do regression, you are calculating 2 values, slope and intercept. Okay. Now, so this is your market data and this is your point value. Now, how will you calculate? First of all, how will you calculate your slope value? Just go to formula, okay, insert function, right? Let me just yeah. So how will you calculate slope value? Insert function, okay, then write slope. Yeah. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
You just write slope. Okay, then what I'm saying, known y's and known x's. Now you are asking, hey, why is this y and x, and how will I know what is y and x? So in regression, there are 2 variables. 2 variables means 2 data sets. So x is an independent variable and x is always your point value. Y is a dependent variable, DV, dependent variable, and it is always market salary. So it is asking for Y. So what you do? Just click on this and all right, C1 to 660. Okay. Now X. Okay. What will I do? I purposely kept two market. I'll tell you why I kept that. So you just have to click till there. Now, okay. So what are you going to get? I should have put it here. 1 second. I'll redo it again. I'll do the slope function, insert function, slope. Okay. X. So what is the value? Slope value? 390, which I will put it as slope here. SLOP. Okay. Now calculate what? Intercept. Intercept. What will I do again? Insert function. Right here. Intercept. Intercept. Okay. 1 second. I don't know whether this is slope. Cancel. All right. Known wise. Known excess. Okay. So intercept is how much? Minus 58,648. Okay. Slope and intercept. Now you want to calculate, hey, what is the salary I need to pay? That's called the pay line salary. You have the point value, you have the market data. Now you want to predict. Regression is a tool which predicts. So you want to know what is the salary I have to pay. So there is a formula to it. What is the formula? Y salary is equal to slope multiplied by the point value plus intercept. Are you with me, guys? Slope multiplied by the point value plus intercept. So what I want you all to do is quickly create, let me see the time, otherwise then I will give you the data. Yeah, yes, we do have time. Okay, now there is also another way to do this, calculate slope and intercept. Typically what you do is select, okay, I'm showing you two methods. Select this data, then go to insert, and then go to this scatter graph. Got it? Okay. Now click on any, right click, and then add a trend line. And now don't stop at trend line. If you can see, display equation on chart and display R. Okay. Now can you see this value? Can you see the value here?
Yeah.
Which is equal to the value we have calculated. Can you see the value? Slope and
yes.
intercept. 1 second, I'm going to.
Yeah,
check
same.
this. Can you see it? Huh?
Yes.
Oh, I'll push it up 1 second. Yeah. Can you see that?
Yes.
So the salary Y is equal to what? Slope 390 multiplied by X. X is your point value, huh? Because it is minus here, minus the intercept value. Otherwise, the what is it? Formula is slope multiplied by point value plus intercept. Got it? Huh?
Right.
Now, you also have something called R square. What is this R square? Coefficient of determination. That is the regression. Now, how much did you get? 0.95. That means 95%. That means your salary is 95% dependent on the point value. So, which is a very good indicator, because typically if your R square is anything less than 80, that means you need to again go back to your drawing board to look at your market data. Okay, can you see this R square? This is called your regression. Okay, guys, any questions? Because you will have to go back and do it.
I have one small doubt.
Yeah.
When you go to this job evaluation matrix here, can you just
Pardon?
in this job evaluation matrix, which is row number 14.
1 second.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is point value which is very clear. The market salary is the highest salary or the lowest salary? Market salary, why?
Market salary is Y. Market salary is Y. I have given it as Y. When you are doing a regression, Y is always the market salary, which is called a dependent variable, DV. Okay, because when you're using that function formula, then Y is your market salary, X is your point value. Now you asked me whether market salary is high or low. Right now it is as per the market, which is median. I'm not saying lead or lag or anything. Okay.
And how did we assign it, madam, to, like, let's say, the first one, 230 is 25,000. How did we assign it? What is the basis of assigning it? Market value.
Basis of what?
Let's say, if you say HR team lead, point it 230. We got that from the above table. But how did we assign 25,000 to this?
Yeah,
HR
how did
team
I
lead?
assign 25,000? I looked at the market data and picked what is the market paying for an HR team lead in that similar industry.
Okay, so market data will show the HR team lead will get 25,000.
25,000. So
Okay.
this is a data which is, it could be published data, it could be customized data. So this is the data from the market.
And
The
assuming
median
that,
value. Sorry.
Tell me, please. Yeah.
This
Assuming-
20,000 the median. Asif, continue.
Sorry, please,
Asif.
Amar, please, you can.
Sorry, Asif. So this 25,000 is a median value.
I said this is a median value.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
I'm not taking lead lag here, nothing. I will explain later. This is because when you actually go to market and when you look at market data, published data, typically it gives you median data. It does not give you a range. Sometimes it may give you a min or a max, a range, but normally it will give you a median data, which is called an average data, but we call it as median data, midpoint data. Okay. That's your controlling point.
Right.
Now, companies, if you want to pay more, then they'll pay more. That is your 50th percentile. So this data is all 50th percentile.
Okay.
Understood.
Okay. So now just let me look at the time. 4:45, 5:30. Okay. I think you can quickly.
One question, ma'am. Let's say HR team lead is the designation required for, let's say, our office or client office. Now, if the market data says senior HR executive or HR supervisor, so based on our
No. So here is it. So that is typically when I do external equity market pricing, I do that. But yes, when you get market data, typically what will you do? You will look at an HR team lead's job description. Okay, you have looked at job description and evaluated and given 230 points. Now, even when you're looking at market data, you have to see whether it is matching with your job description at least 85 to 90%. Okay. Only then you have to take that data. Otherwise, if it is not matching, if it is lower or higher, it will give you inaccurate data. Got it?
Got it.
Apple to apple matching.
Apple to apple. Okay.
Or even industry, because maybe IT industry will pay more, but you are in a manufacturing organization, right?
Right.
It has to be industry specific, and then you have to match as per the job description.
80% is the minimum criteria.
At least 80 to 85, because sometimes what happens, you can't really match everything, no?
Yes. Got it.
Okay, so here is it. Now, you have to go back. Vilma, are you there?
Yes, yes. Tell me.
Yeah. Vilma, in the same two groups. Okay. Now let me just give them instructions. Guys, you have actually done this. I don't want you to rework on your compensable factors. Okay. All of you have done 4 compensable factors. Don't rework. Now you have to change those grades into just 1, 2, 3, 4 only. Okay. Write degree so that you learn that there's a difference between grade. So write degree 1, 2, 3, 4. Now keep your descriptors and ensure that they are not overlapping. Just do that correction. Okay. After that, then give your weightage for those compensable factors and then quickly do the population of the points, 400 points. Okay. And then take your 10 positions and do your point value. And market data, Vilma is going to give you. You don't have to waste time in getting the market data. Got it? So that my interest is that you learn how to do the regression and do the prediction. Market data is easy to gather, which I will also explain in the next session. But more importantly, I want to learn the technique of how to do regression. Got it, guys? So what do you need to do when you are in your breakout room? You have to give the weightage because you have done this, and descriptors ensure that there is no overlapping, and then do the population of the plan, 400 points. So you will do the weightage and accordingly give the points. Then for 10 positions, quickly calculate your total point value and put them. Market data, we will give you. Done? Then you will do the calculation of the slope and intercept, and then creating that what pay line salary. What is that you need to pay in your organization? Got it? Very clear? Any questions before you break out into your room?
Just
yeah. We are back. So can you just show me the first group or the second group, whoever is there?
Yeah, I'll share a screen. Okay, somebody sharing a screen.
Okay. Finished? It came for a minute and then it disappeared. Who's sharing in the first group?
Dhanashri is doing it.
Okay. Okay. So Dhanashri, are you going to explain quickly? Just taking 2 minutes. Who's going to explain?
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. So you have identified compensable factors.
Yes. We have weighted
1, 2, 3, 4. 4
yeah.
compensable factors, right? Yeah.
So we have weighted based on the degree and the compensable factor.
Given weightages and degrees of differentiation, assigned point values, evaluated the jobs, and you have then calculated the point value for all your 10 positions, right?
Yes.
So I'm not touching this piece now, market data. Okay. Can the other group then share? I'm not touching this. I will come back to it later. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, the other group.
Yeah, I'm sharing. I hope it's visible.
Yeah, not an issue. So here again, yeah. Can you explain?
Yeah, so we are given the points.
Step 1.
Yeah. So we have given the first of all, we have given the weightage for each of the compensable.
So can you say step 1, defining compensable factors, experience, qualification, functional knowledge, decision making. Then step 2, degrees of differentiation, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then step 3, weightage, so that you know when you are explaining it, you are able to actually then learn as well. Yeah, tell me.
All right. Okay. So first of all, we are given the weightage for each compensable factors. And for each compensable factor, the weightage is distributed among the 4 levels, or the degrees have been established.
Right.
Once the degrees are established, the next step is for each role, we identify what is the point value.
Then you are also writing the descriptors as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wrote the descriptors, and once the descriptors are done, we got the point values for each role.
Then populating the template, populating the point plan. That's called populating the point plan.
Yeah.
Like, multiplying the weightages with the degrees of differentiation. 20 into 1, 20 into 2, that's another step, right?
Yeah.
Then for every role?
Yeah, then for every role, we calculate the point value.
Point value. Based on the job description, you will evaluate these 4 compensable factors. To what extent to what extent do they need the compensable factor, to what point value or to what degree of differentiation. So you will assign that value and then add up all the 4 compensable factor point values, add up and then give the total point plan. So you have done that. Okay, great. So can you just pull down, guys, please? Yeah. Okay. So now everybody is clear about how to create a point plan and how to evaluate jobs and then calculate point values for positions. Very clear? Just give me a thumbs up. Everybody is very clear about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, what will you do? See, you must, I'm actually using another data because one group has data and one group has, they have assumed, but nevertheless. So say for example, these are the 14 positions. You have this data with you because you will be working on this. These are the 14 positions. Okay. Now, these are the point values, just as the way you have done point values. Okay. This is X. Now, this is market data per month. Don't take salaries per annum, but take market data per month. Nothing but salaries per annum divided by 12, it gives you market data per month. So this is market data per month. This is the Y column data. Okay. Now, what I want you all to do individually, you have this data with you on an Excel sheet. Please calculate slope and intercept. Don't do it individually. What you do, just select this data. That was for explaining it to. Okay. Then insert, then go to this, then use this. All right. And I want you to then do it this way, but I'm not showing further because I've already explained. I want to see how you are able to do it. Okay. Or you want me to show? Tell me, then I can also show it. Harshada, please. Harshada, you want to tell me something? Tell me.
You can please show us.
Okay.
Show me once again.
No problem. You can do it again. Okay. What did I do? I'll just delete this.
Scroll down on the right hand side.
Okay. Now what did I do? So this is the, see, till here you have done, till point value you have done. Okay. Now one group has assumed data, one group has not assumed data. So I don't want to get into that data because of the time constraint. I'm showing you how to do. So this is already market data. So what? Select. Okay. Now what will I do? Insert. Then
The
go
scatter
to this.
diagram.
Then go to this.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, please see very, very carefully. Now, when I do this, what am I doing in regression? I'm actually going to find out the best fit line, or what it is called. That trend line is actually called the best fit line. Now, I'm going to tell you another method of doing it. Can you see my screen very well?
Yes, ma'am.
So, there is something called quick layout.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Then I have gone to FX. Got it? Huh?
Okay.
I will again do it if you want. Simple.
Yes,
I just have to go to quick layout and then do that. See, quick layout and go to FX. Can you see that? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Layout 9. And then you will get automatically your best fit line, which is called the regression line or the salary line, where all your job points are tight tightly knit on the line. That means, can you see the R square? What is it? How much is it?
97.
0.97.
97. That means it's a
97%.
very good fit. It's a very good fit. Why should I say very good fit? That means the dependency of your salary is 97% based on the point value. So how do we decide graphically when you do this? When your data is scattered all around and your line of best fit is here, and you will see that that's not a good fit. Here you see that your data is all tightly, very close to your best fit line, or called the regression line. Okay, that's why it's 97%. Okay, now you may say here the slope is how much? 128.79, and your intercept is 13,189. You can do individually also calculate slope and intercept. You can do using quick layout. You can also do the other method which I showed you earlier, using a scatter graph, trend line, and right, and go back and do. You can also download your data analytics tool from the Excel, add options and do the regression. So there are many ways of doing. Okay, so once you have done this, then it's simple. What is the what will you do? You have to apply that formula. What? Y is equal to, so I want you all to do it. How much time is left? So I want you all to calculate the salary for all this, at least for 5 or 10 positions, so that you know how to do it. You just have to do it by doing what? Y salary is equal to 128.79. You round it off into 129. Okay, multiplied by the point value minus 13,189. Okay, you have this data. Can you do it individually so that you are more comfortable and I can take up any challenges you have, if any?
Yeah, one question on the R square. What is an ideal R square value?
Typically, it should not be less than 80 to 85%. That means what? That means, see, even if you change any data, it will, because 97, because it's very tightly close knit data. If you see your data, like let us see, I will close this and I will ask the other group which had some assumption of data. Let them put it up. I want to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't save. I'm just pulling down. Yeah. Yeah. Can you put that up?
Yeah.
So that I will show, though it is an assumption data, I will show how it can vary. No, not this. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in this, if you notice, what is your R square?
It's 78.
78. Why is it 78? If you see, there are certain job positions which are far away from the best fit line. Are you getting me? Which are far away from the best fit line. See, like for example, this position which is about 370 or so, this position, then this position. So there is still some variance in the way. So if I want to actually get a better fit of 85 to 90%, what I will do, I'll go back to the drawing board and I will look for these positions and I will look for their market data once again and see if I'm mismatched. Are you with me?
Yeah, got it.
I will see if, see, like these positions are okay. They can be, they are on the line, but some of them are far away from that best fit line. This is your salary line. So I will again go back and see if I can get a better fit so that then the market data can be more accurate. Then you will, okay, for example, can you change data? I want you all to show me. Can you change data of these two positions by increasing this position, which is lower? Okay, just change. You will see there is a difference. Can you see there is a change?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, can you reduce this value, which is your top?
Yes.
Can you reduce that 400 points salary? Can you reduce the salary of that 400 points?
Yeah.
Can you see what is happening? Can you see that there's a shift of positions? right? Now you have 84. So when you are working on this job evaluation point plan, you will look at those positions which are away from, when you have done this, when you look at those positions which are not in sync and say, hey, let me go back and again do some matching. Maybe, you know, I've not matched and got the accurate market data. Are you with me, guys?
Madam, is it necessary to only match the kind of deviated on the higher side only, or we can work on the lower side also?
No. But what I'm saying is this is very, very little. Why okay, you have a point. So why have I not asked this lower side? I'll say sometimes on the ground, maybe in your organization, you are paying lesser, right?
Yes,
because
correct,
when you are
correct.
actually, when you're doing a regression, it is trying to throw up your best fit line here. And
Correct.
maybe that your positions have to be paid a little more. Got it?
Right.
Okay.
But if the
But
management
then some
disagrees,
cases,
then we have to leave it,
yeah.
right?
But some cases, what happens, then maybe your organization is a little unique. Then I will say, I don't want to have a linear, trend line like this. Rather, I will have something called exponential. Just click on this blue one job position, click on that and do a right click. Do a right click so that go to that add trend line. Okay. Click on that. Then rather than linear, go to exponential.
Okay.
Go to exponential. See, there is something called exponential there. Can
Yeah,
you see?
yeah.
First.
Click on that.
At the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you will see. So maybe depending on your organization and nature of the jobs, you will say, hey, I want an exponential so that, you know, my best of line fit takes into consideration all that. So it is something on the ground you will actually analyze and use whether you want to use linear or exponential. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
I have
Thank you so
given you
much.
some data. So please individually do it so that it helps you quickly. Huh? Everybody has that sheet, no?
Yes.
After having done individually, one person can then share the Excel. Okay, one person can share the Excel. Yeah, have you calculated at least for 5 positions? What you do, who is this who is sharing? Can I know?
Amar.
Yeah.
So Amar, what you do, put under G, pay line salary and just work for 5 positions.
All are done.
Achha, all are done. One where?
Yeah.
Where have you done?
Column E.
Okay, put that. Yeah. Can you hide off market salaries per annum so that, you know, the others don't get confused? Hide it off.
Okay.
Okay, and write this as pay line salary.
Okay.
Okay, this is what you need to pay. Now guys, look at it. R square is 97. Okay. Now, if you hide your market salary, okay, and just take these 2 sets of data, total point value and pay line, and create a trend line, you'll get a straight line. Can you do that quickly, Amar?
Done, madam.
Another one. Yeah,
Okay.
hide market salary.
Okay.
And select, and then insert. Yes, you will get a straight line. You get me? What
Yeah.
does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? That is your what? Pay line.
Pay line.
Okay, can you just bring down so that I want to just explain and quickly we'll close the session because that's important. Yeah. I hope everybody has been able to do this. Okay. All right. I'm sure some of you were having little. Okay. Now, what did we do when we were doing regression and wanting to find out what is the salary I want to do? We had two sets of data. Okay, we had two sets of data. One is salary, which we said as Y, and the other is point value, okay, which we said as X. Is this clear? Like say for
Yes, ma'am.
example, say 100 points, 200 points, 300 points, 400 points, all right. And this is salary. Okay. Now, when we did regression, what did it do? It took all these point values which were, say for example, maybe one position was here, one position was here, one position was here, one position was here, one position was here. Okay. Now, these are the positions. What? That means they have some value, right? Huh? This is points from say 0 to say 400. All right. So, sorry. Okay. All right. Now, when I've taken market data and when I've done this, so it has this corresponding. Because based on the line which we have done a regression, okay, it has assigned the salary what you need to pay. Is that clear, guys? Huh? Now, what is the slope? I want to explain clearly just to, what is the slope? That means what? With the increase of point value, huh?
Okay.
How much is Y going up? Let me draw this. Say for example, this is one line and this is another line, best fit line, and then this is another line. So what is the slope with increase of every point? How much is Y increasing? With the increase of X, how much is Y increasing? So are you getting me, guys? Is this very clear? Huh?
Yep.
That is, so which will have the highest slope value? This line, right? Huh? With the highest slope. Now we may ask, what is intercept? So slope you have understood. What is intercept? That is the best fit line when it intercepts this one, this point. Okay, when the point value is 0, okay, what is the value of y? Are you with me, guys?
Yes.
That is called the intercept. So now have you understood? When the point value is 0, what is the value of y? So when you do the statistical, use a statistical tool of regression, it calculates the slope and the intercept value. Very clear? So that's how you do point values. All right. And with that, we conclude job grading and point method. Okay, guys. So here is nothing but a point value method, exactly the same, but it has 3 compensable factors, which are know-how, problem solving, and accountability. And it comes with a ready reckoner. So anybody who's using A or who has used, I'm sure they know that you don't have to actually determine compensable factors, create a point plan. All that you need to do is the person comes, they gives a questionnaire or standard questionnaire, then you have to assign all point values because the reckoner is there. It comes in 3 sets, one for small, one for medium, and other for large. And then why is it popular? Because they sit on a lot of market data, any geography, any location. So therefore, market data is very accurate. Okay. Any questions? I can take 1 question or 2 questions before we close the session. And if you have any challenges further on, you can please text me, because we needed to compress a lot of it into a small 3-hour session, which was typically, so therefore I had to do some rushing also, and I had to also compress it. Yeah.
I have a question, madam. Let's say any position.
Yes, Asif. Yeah. Can I see you?
Yeah. Let's say the CFO position. Okay, so when we did the job grading, it was on grade 4. Okay, and when we did, we have done the point value. Let's say it is 400 points. So if you go to the like head of IT,
I can understand the question, what you're saying. Okay, let me just show you quickly.
So as far as I understand, this is uniformity. Let's say it's grade 4 CFO, grade 4.
No. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Can you put that date? Okay. Are you able? No. 1 second. Can somebody share that screen which we have done something? I don't know.
Amar?
Huh?
Amar has it.
Yeah, you can. Okay. Yeah, the second part which we have done. Yeah, you can share the same one which with the data, that graph or the pay salaries. Okay. Or maybe the last exercise which one of you have done, somebody shared it. I don't know who was that person.
Yeah, 1 minute. Hang on. Which sheet?
Yeah, Amar, can you just share that? The last exercise which we did.
Is that the sheet?
Yeah, that not the sheet, the one which we did recently. I gave you the data and I asked you to do.
Yeah, this is the one.
The trend line. I think Amar has done that. The trend line.
Dhanushri have that.
Which one?
Can I share?
Yeah, anybody can share.
Point value for
Okay, right. Yeah. See, the question Asif was asking, for example, your point values of this 500, 470, 400. Okay, all right.
Yep.
And and the pay line salary, market salary. This is your pay line salary. All right. Okay. Now, hey, there's a noise. Now, if you have just 10 positions, 15 positions, now what you do, you will create a grade or a pay band with the salary by doing plus 10%, minus 10%. But if in case you have many positions, okay, what one does in a point plan method is you are not linking up with that same thing as grades, but definitely you will convert them into grades. But here it's a different way. What will you do? You will say, hey, you will take what is the highest 500 and this is 220. Now you will start saying, all right, from 220, a difference of maybe 50 points. So 220 to 50 is 270. What are those jobs which are falling in from 220 to 265? 1, 2, 3 jobs. So these are like I'm doing cluster analysis or categorization of similar kind of jobs. So I will say, so from 220 to 265 is one grade, grade 1. So all these 3 jobs fall under that. Okay. Then again from 265 to 300, I will look at those jobs which are falling. So if there is any job at a cutoff which is of a higher order, higher supervisory, then I will say, hey, that moves into the next grade. So when I'm doing a grading of the point plan at every 50 points, then 100 and 150 points, what I do, I take cutoffs and all those positions which fall in between those positions, means like all those total point values which fall in between those, I mean, say between those points, I will then grade them into one grade. Okay. Why is it important to make those grades? Because I have to create a pay grade. So this will be my grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. Okay. Then how will I then fix min and max? What will I do? The position with the lowest salary, that is 15145, that will become my min, and 265. So 2094, that will become my max. Okay. So then even benefits, then I'm going to then give them as per the grades. So typically salary you pay as per points and benefits you will pay as per grades. Is that clear now, Atif?
Yes, yes. So can we further classify it? Let's say, grade, talking about the lower one, 220 to 265, that's grade 1, and then A, B, C.
Depending on, like here there are just few positions, right? So yeah, depending on the number of positions which are falling into one grade, are they of equal nature, categorization, that means. But if you still find that some of the jobs are of higher, then you can do subgrading.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So I know it was a lot for you today, right? It is like you have bitten more than you can chew, but definitely maybe you can go back and go through everything. What do you say?
Nirmala, we would like to give them an assignment for 5 positions or 10 positions.
You'll give them an assignment?
The same assignment, to
yeah,
on 5
give them
positions,
for 10 positions or 15 positions. That
10
will be better,
positions
no? Because
of your own
if
organization.
If there are only 5 positions, then it will be a too smaller sample. You can't even create any grades. So I would recommend typically 10 to 15 positions.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Fine. So that will be sent to you as an assignment for this week. And once you complete it, try to submit it by Friday so that we can evaluate it.
Yeah, I want feedback from, this is the first time we have tried out this. I want the feedback from those participants who have just joined job evaluation. Was it too much with you, or how was it? I mean, were you able to comprehend? Anybody who can? Jayesh, you want to speak?
Yes, it was very comprehensive. You rightly said it was too difficult to chew very much, but 90% of it, yes, we understood the basic concept. Now we have to interpolate it and we have to work it out. Okay. But it was really nice session. Thank you a lot.
No, you have a lot of course material. You can read it to understand.
Yes, okay? You all got the manuals. So all details are given there. And our next session is on compensation benchmarking and data analysis. So in case you would like to join, you can let us.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you
for all the participation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.